Bum, 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 bum. Hi everyone,
Factually Ginge Tano here.
Monster Hunter's most average content creator, and today we're here to talk about music. Capcom gone and done did it again. They gave us another Hunter's Choice survey thing like they did for the anniversary, but this time we're doing it for the background music for our favorite monster, or rather our favorite background music for a monster. Uh, that differentiation is very important. Now, of course, for the anniversary event, we got to see everybody's favorite monster. Your top three were Lagiacrus, Nergigante, and Zenoga, of course. Shocker, I know. But now that we're talking about the background music, it might be a little bit different, the results that we see. Maybe not super different, because there's probably a correlation between someone's favorite monster having also their favorite theme music, but we'll see when it comes around. The current Hunter's Choice poll lasts until I think the 27th, so if you're seeing this video when it comes out, go and vote and pick your favorite one and have a bit of fun with it. There are about 230 monsters total, but they don't all have unique themes. A lot of the themes are used by multiple monsters, 2 or 3, or in some cases like 15, but we'll talk about that in just a bit. And so I listened to all of them to decide which ones are my favorites, my least favorites, and which ones I think will top out the list when Capcom eventually releases the results for the poll. And so without further ado, I am Big Ginge. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's talk about some Monster Hunter background tracks, eh? Okay, so I've got a top 5 best and worst for you guys, and we'll go through it one by one. So we'll do number 5 of the worst, number 5 of the best, number 4 of the worst, number 4 of the best, and so on and so forth, just to break it up a little bit. And so with that said, number 5 on my worst list is a little bit of a hot take, I think. And some people are going to be upset with me with this one, but you know what? I tried thinking about the music in the vacuum, but my affinity for certain monsters certainly impacted the results here, as I think it will for a lot of people. Number 5 is Volcana. There's just something about it that just doesn't sit right with me. I'm not saying it doesn't represent the monster really well, because I think it does. It's got your wintry, mystical feel going on, but I don't like Volcana. I think it's one of the worst flagships, and that has undoubtedly swayed me in my decision with this one. Volcana was a great flagship for what it was in. Iceborne, it made sense. Ice Elder Dragon, I get it, I understand it. I just don't like it very much, and that goes for its theme as well. It just doesn't feel quite elegant enough, it doesn't feel quite powerful enough, and it just comes across as a little bit goofy for my personal taste. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I might not have a whole lot to say about a lot of these things, because a lot of it is just how it makes me feel inside, and it really, at the end of the day, isn't that what music's all about? Moving on to the best list, there are 2 honorable mentions that I would like to just cover quickly before I get into the actual number 5 spot, because they are really, really good. I just felt that the 5 I chose were ever so slightly better than these 2. And those 2 are, of course, number 1, the Cedius theme, Moonquake, because what's not to love about that theme? The vocals, the vibe, it fits Cedius so goddamn well, and it's one of the best themes in the entire series, and just, despite how bad the Cedius fight is, and it's not the worst, I get that, but I've talked about all of its shortfalls in the past, the theme for Cedius is just so damn good. And the other theme, funnily enough, is the Great Jaggy theme. The theme used for Great Jaggy, Great Baggy, and Great Roggy goes so hard for the monsters that it's for. And it's part of the reason I want Great Jaggy back, because he deserves to be there with the other 2, and his theme just slaps so goddamn hard. But enough of that. Number 5 is Murmurs in the Land Forbidden, which is, if you don't know, the theme for the Rotten Vale, and by default, Otogaron and Radaban. There's something about this theme that just really encapsulates the Rotten Vale really well. I don't love World's music as a whole. I think that there are some really weak tracks there, but there's also some really powerful ones as well, and, well, this is one of those powerful ones. The Rotten Vale is such a unique area in Monster Hunter in general, being just rotten corpses and bones, not really having a generic biome like a forest or a tundra or a desert. It's sort of its own self-contained thing. It's creepy, and the music just amplifies that tenfold. When you're fighting a giant flesh dog, this music really helps to just bring the whole experience into one neat little package, and I just really love that for it. The Rotten Vale theme slaps, and if you disagree, I think you're wrong. Yeah. So both of those were from World, but number 4 on our list is, of course, a throwback to the original Monster Hunter, and it is Poisonous Haze, which is the Gypserus, Purple Gypserus, and I think the Terra Shogun Senator theme for some reason. This theme just takes me back to the really old school swamps, and there's something about it that just makes my brain melt a little bit. I recently played through the original Monster Hunter, and there will be a video on that very soon. It's just taking longer than anticipated. And my experience there in those maps with so many small monsters and so much poison, it just... And the Gypsaurus in general is just one of my least favorite monsters. I don't like it. I think it kind of sucks. And the theme just takes me back into a bad mindset. And yeah, that's sort of it. The old swamps suck. And number 4 on our best list is a theme I hadn't thought about in a very, very long time. And it wasn't until it showed up in the top 20 list of the monsters, when I wasn't really expecting it to, that I went back and listened to it. And God, it is a really excellent theme. And that is the Old Fatalis theme, Ancient Dragon. This theme is not as intense as some of the other music, like the actual normal Fatalis and the Crimson Fatalis, but it has this mystical air about it that is really, really hard to shake. It conveys almost limitless power while not being this crazy, chaotic theme, and it has this little bell melody that runs through the entire thing that I just find to be so engaging and so... I don't know, man. It just makes something inside me feel really primal and I don't know, monkey brain feel good, I suppose. I just looked up what the bell sound is, and apparently they are either tubular bells, wind chimes, or an instrument called a kulintang from the Philippines. There you go. The more you know, huh? The more you know. Back to the worst list is one that some people might find inoffensive, but just really, for some reason, does not do it for me. And that is the Frozen White Knight, better known as the Barioth theme, but it covers most of the Gen 3 Tundra monsters as well, like Giginox, Jade Barroth, all of those sorts of guys. There's something about this theme that just really does not engage me and does not make me feel like I'm fighting the Barioth, and it actually brings the Barioth quite far down for me in terms of just the general experience. I really appreciate sound design in Monster Hunter, even though I know people that don't play with any sound on at all, which is insane to me. Yeah, I don't know. The Frozen White Knight just doesn't convey a fierce monster for me personally, and I think that it falls pretty weak, especially considering it covers so many monsters. Yeah, sorry. Number 3 on the best list might not come as a surprise to anybody that knows me, and that's because it is Deep Blue Hard Shell or Brutish Indigo, whichever you want to use, which is Brachydios' theme. Brachydios is my favorite monster, that's no secret, I just like it a lot, and the same goes for its theme song. It's just super explosive, super symbolic, super expressive in the way that it shows what Brachydios is really capable of, and it's just sat in my brain ever since the first time I versed it back in 3 Ultimate. It's just really hard to shake. It's an excellent theme. Probably swayed a lot by the fact that it's my favorite monster, but it isn't number 1. And for good reason, which you'll see very soon. Brachydios theme slaps, and I almost put Raging Brachydios from World in here, but the original just eked it out just a little bit, even though all the chanting and Latin and whatnot in the Raging Brachydios theme is also really, really good. Number 2 on the worst themes list is one that I think I don't like just because I have heard it so many times. And that is the theme for the Ancient Forest in Monster Hunter World, which is called Savage of the Ancient Forest, I believe, which encompasses Anjanath and Tobikadachi and Puke Puke on the Hunter's Choice list thing. This theme has just been done to death, I think, so it really doesn't hold any special place in my heart, and I've heard it so many times. It just feels like white background noise, and you know what? That's not a good thing for a Monster Hunter theme. They're supposed to be engaging, they're supposed to enhance the experience, and I think I'm just at a point where it doesn't for me now anymore. Yep, just don't like it. Number 1 and number 2 on my best list are like virtually neck and neck. You can switch them around on any given day depending on how I'm feeling, and honestly, I wouldn't jump up and down and scream about it because they are both so fantastic. So number 2 right now is Phantom of the Forest, but specifically the Rise version. This is the theme that Chameleos uses in Rise, and it just, first of all, it blows the original Chameleos theme out of the water. It is absolutely fantastic. It's just so different from everything else in Monster Hunter that it's very gripping, and it really makes you pay attention, and it's like enhances the Chameleos fight so much more, on top of everything they did to actually make him not a a damage sponge in Rise. The whole thing is fantastic, but there's one particular part where this chanting comes in and all this really whimsical music plays. And that one little segment, it's like a melody that plays for like 10-15 seconds a couple of times throughout the tune. There's something about it that I just love so much. And I'm sure there's people out there that feel the same way. And it's time for us to really make sure that Chameleos gets the love that it deserves. And so we're on to the number 1 slot on the worst list. And honestly, the previous 4 on the worst list could go in any order. There's none that I particularly hate more than the other. They're just sort of, arbitrary numbering. But this song, this is one of the only songs in Monster Hunter that I really do not like. And it might come as a surprise that it is in fact Resolve Flaring in the Heart, which is the theme used for every single Deviant monster except the Bloodbath Diablos. This theme is from Monster Hunter Generations and Generations Ultimate, and it is used for my favorite subclass classification variation thing of monster, which are the Deviants. I love the Deviants, and so it's just that little bit more disappointing that they have this theme. And all of them have the same theme, despite a lot of the monsters having really awesome themes by themselves. I know it's a lot more work, don't get me wrong, but I would have really loved for a lot of the monsters to have enhanced and changed versions of their normal theme for the Deviants, but unfortunately they just didn't do that, and they all have this generic theme that sort of sounds like a generic action classic song that's also kind of just a riff on Glavenus's theme. It's really bland, and it really feels quite generic, and I really don't like it. And yeah, it just sucks. Worst theme by far. If I could vote for a worst song, that would absolutely be the one that I would go for. And so, with all of that out of the way, the number 1 best song in Monster Hunter, and the song that I will be voting for, is, well, not going to be a surprise to anybody who has watched any of my previous videos. It is the Immovable Mountain God, otherwise known as Gameth's theme. The Gameth theme it's just such a perfect encapsulation of the intended design behind the monster. And look, say what you want about Gameth. I know a lot of people think that it's a really shit fight, and it's not the best fight in the whole wide world, but the theme and the visual design is just mwah. It's just absolutely spot on and fantastic, and the fact that Gameth herself is this really different monster to anything else we've ever seen, and the theme goes so well with this gigantic tundra-dwelling snowy mountains monster. There's the melody that repeats over and over, like it's just, it's amazing, man. It's so good, and it's my absolute favorite theme. Again, that and the Rise Chameleos theme are pretty neck and neck. So maybe depending on how I'm feeling when I vote, the Chameleos theme will eke it out, but the Gameth theme is my favorite. It's been my favorite for a long time. And so that's it for what I think are the best and worst songs in the entire Monster Hunter series. Now, keeping in mind that not every song and theme is on this list, I'm just talking about the ones that we have the option for. There's a lot of great songs that aren't technically specific monster background tracks. You've got things like Congregation of the Fearless, which is the Guiding Lands theme in Monster Hunter World Iceborne. You've got the Rampage theme from Rise. They all slap pretty hard, but unfortunately they aren't an option. Otherwise, they might have pushed things like the Rotten Vale theme out of my top 5, for example. So with that out of the way, which ones are actually going to win the Hunter's Choice Awards? Obviously, I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows, really, except for the guy that's looking at all the stats tick up at the moment. And so let's do a little bit of a prediction for a bit of fun to see if we can't guess the top 5 Monster Hunter themes that are going to come through in the results of the Hunter's Choice poll. I listened to all the themes and tried to think about what monsters people are most likely to pick. Again, people are pretty likely to pick their favorite monster as the favorite theme as well. I think that's a pretty common thing that's going to happen, but I'm going to guess the top 5, likely in no particular order, but the ones that I think that the community is going to vote for. Number 5 is Valstrux's theme. Valstrux was a fan favorite. Both it and its variant made it into the top 20 list. Valstrux was like 4 and Crimson Glow was like number 20. But regardless, people really fucking like Valstrux a lot. And for good reason. It's a really cool monster. I really like it. And it's an excellent theme. So I think that it's a pretty good chance that we do see it. Whether it's the Rise version or not, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the original theme is the better of the two. Number 4 is one that comes through just based on how iconic it is and recency bias of world and the fact that the most players ever joined during the Gen 5 games and World's rise to glory that we've seen over the last few years, and that is the invading tyrant Basil Geese. Yeah, I think the Basil Geese theme makes it into the top 5. I don't know why, but there's just something inside me that's telling me that people are going to go and they're going to vote for it. I could be totally off base and super wrong here, but I got a feeling, man. I think it makes it in. Number 3, I think, is going to be Sappy Jiva's theme. Honestly, if you got me on a different day, it might have been in my top 5. It's an excellent theme that really makes me feel something inside. It shows how powerful this dragon is. And I think it resonated with a lot of people. And I think that there's a pretty high chance that it makes it into the final top 5 of the poll. Number 2 is World's End, Nergigante's theme, but not its normal theme, which I think is called Even Elder Dragons Tremble. World's End is the Arc-Tempered theme, so it's the theme for Ruiner, Nergigante. Another banger. Maybe I do like World's music, and I'm gaslighting myself. This theme is one that I think everybody universally really, really likes, and given how loved Nergigante was in the poll, given he was in the top 10 twice, I think that this one makes it through and might be the top, if not in the top 3. I think that's a pretty solid bet. And last but not least is one that I don't think is entirely unreasonable to say that it might be the top slot, and that's because the monster was the top slot of the favorite monsters poll, and that is Spark of Blue, Zenoga's theme. Look, it's really cool. I don't want to shit on Zenoga and be like a hater because it won the poll. Zenoga's really awesome. It's a fantastic Fang Beast. It was the only Fang Beast for a long time. It's a super iconic flagship monster that does a lot really, really well. And its theme is really, really cool too. You've got the electric guitar going through. It just suits it really well. And I think there's a pretty good chance that it takes the top slot. And so with all that said, those are my opinions on the Monster Hunter background music and the Hunters poll that we're going to get the results for in, I don't know, a month's time, 2 months' time, a week's time, I don't know. If you haven't voted yet, go and vote. It's a good little fun community event. I think the voting ends on the 27th. So go and get your favorite slot. And if it's, look, man, if your favorite song is Gobule's theme, lock it in. Lock it in, man. Just you do you. Thanks for watching the video, guys. This was just a fun little off-the-cuff thing that I wanted to make purely because I wanted to do a Anthony Fantano parody intro. Yeah, there's a big long video coming that I hope you guys will enjoy. It was supposed to be out already, but it's just taken me a little bit longer to get together, get all the footage, and make it the best that it can possibly be. So don't forget to tune in for that in the coming weeks. Yeah, that's about it for me. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.